I want to talk about the top 5 reasons, as far as I'm concerned, why the United States government covers up the reality that there's an extraterrestrial presence on Earth. And I'm going to start with my number 5 reason, and we'll make our way to number 1. But my number 5 reason is because of religious concerns. There are many fundamentalist religious groups throughout the world, particularly fundamentalist Christians, and a lot of the people, like these evangelical leaders, tell their flock that there's only one intelligent race of beings in the entire universe, and that's human beings, and that anything else would be the devil. In fact, the late Stanton Friedman, the noted nuclear physicist and UFO investigator, he listed some of his reasons too, and actually what he said, and this was one of his reasons. This was actually his number 4 reason. Actually, he says a small group of religious fundamentalists, Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson come to mind, have already loudly proclaimed that UFOs are the work of the devil, and that there is no intelligent life outside Earth. What an insult to the notion of an all-powerful God. They would be up the creek without a religious paddle if an announcement were to be made. They have a great deal of political clout. So, things were different. I think things are different. Well, actually, Jerry Falwell has passed on since he made this statement. But again, I'll leave the link for Stanton Friedman's website so you could read this yourself. What his ideas are on what the top reasons are for this government cover up. But anyway, regarding religious concerns, is that there's going to be a major outcry, especially from the fundamentalist Christians. I mean, there'll be, there's a lot of people, right, who, like, especially with some of these evangelicals, the televangelists that are, pounding on Bibles and screaming, talking about hell all the time and this and that. The people that follow them, these people who are easily manipulated into giving these people all their money, they're going to believe everything that they say. And those people, what they're going to say is they're going to say, this is the devil and all that kind of stuff. There's going to be all kinds of, who knows what the implications are going to be. I mean, there's actually been, in the past year, I'm sure I talked about it here on one of the podcasts where there's actually some people in the Pentagon who are fundamentalist Christians, and that's one of the reasons for the cover up, because there are some people that are against letting the people the truth come out, because they themselves actually even don't believe it. They don't believe their lying eyes, apparently. So. I don't know. I think that is number 5 would be, there's concerns about the religious implications on what kind of effect it will have on people who have these fundamentalist ideologies and believe that everything is supposed to go like the Bible according to what, take your pick of the evangelical. I mean, they pick and choose what they want, and then they tell their followers this is the truth when, you know what I'm saying. So I think that's going to be a big concern. Is it enough though to cover it up? I don't think it should be. I don't think it. I don't know why it would be, but I mean, it's definitely a concern. So that is my number 5 reason. But it's other reasons. As we get closer to number 1, they're the bigger reasons. Okay. The next number 4 reason would be, there would be so many different things that would happen. With the stock market would probably crash. And this is one of Stanton Friedman's reasons too. And I'm going to say, I'm going to read what he wrote. He said, what if, and this was his number 3, what if an announcement were made by highly trusted individuals around the world, such as the Queen and the Pope, saying that indeed some UFOs are ET spacecraft? Here are some things I believe would happen. 1, church attendance would increase. 2, mental hospital admissions would increase. 3, the stock market would go down. Uncertainty is always the enemy. And 4, based on my more than 600 college lectures, the younger generation, which unlike me was never alive when there wasn't a space program, would push for a new view of ourselves as Earthlings instead of as Americans, Canadians, Greeks, Peruvians, etc. Many would think that would be great, but I know of no government on Earth that wants its citizens to owe their primary allegiance to the planet where it belongs instead of to individual national governments. Nationalism is the only game in town. I believe that alien visitors, they may be our landlords for all we know, think of us as earthlings, even though because of our military traffic, they would be well aware of different ruling groups in different places. So let's think about what he's saying. Isn't it funny? There's all these conspiracy theorists running around today. Globalists! Worried about globalists! Right? Right? It's all nonsense. I mean, the reality is no country wants to give up its sovereignty. Right? It's nonsense. But one of the reasons to cover this up would be because a lot of people would just we'd all start looking at ourselves as earthlings. I mean, the way people keep us not seeing the big picture is by having us fighting all the time, right? We're all fighting all the time, over stuff that we shouldn't even be worried about, right? When in reality, what's going on is like the governments of the world, including the United States, show us a shiny object, right? Look at this, look at this, look at this. Meanwhile, there's the people on top are basically ripping everybody off. They're paying no taxes. The richest people in the world paying no taxes. Globalists, yeah, no, it's all nonsense. It's all fear. That's all fear mongering, right? That's all fear mongering, because that's not really going on. But one of the reasons it might go on if there was disclosure, a full disclosure. If people knew that there were aliens coming here, we might all stop and wait a minute. Whoa, what are we fighting about? We need to be worried about those guys. And then all the people on the top, the ones who are robbing us blind, right? They'd be the one. They don't want that. They don't want that. So that could be one of the reasons. So just throwing that one out there for you. Okay, number 3. It could actually spark World War III, and I'll tell you why. Actually, now Friedman didn't say this, but he did make a comment with regard to. This was second on his list. He says, each country worries about its enemies determining the secrets of saucer technology before they do, and must be concerned about how to defend against new vehicles and also how to learn what the other guy has already learned. Soviet spies at Los Alamos apparently shortened the time it took the Soviets to test their A-bomb by at least a year. So if all of a sudden this came out, right, if it was known, then there would be instant concerns. Okay, if you're saying that there's extraterrestrial technology out there, and there's extraterrestrial presence on Earth, right? And you're a great country, a big country with a lot of people, China, Russia, United States, right? Like say, China, for instance, and they don't have any alien technology that they're reverse engineering, or they have very minimal at best, right? All of a sudden, they're going to be concerned. They would be concerned. A lot of people would be concerned that from different countries that, hey, what if they might try to take over the world here? We better attack now. So that could be one of the reasons, because, and then next thing you know, one country attacks another country because out of concern that they might be developing technology, alien technology, right? Reverse engineering it, and they're nowhere near, nowhere near what they think the other country might have, So next thing you know, World War III is upon us. Be out of pure fear. And maybe the fear would be warranted. Who knows? But this is another reason why. It has to be one of the reasons why they don't disclose. Now, moving on to my number 2 reason. Now, number 2 actually used to be my number 1 reason, but that's changed recently. I think the number 2 reason is the military implications. And I think that basically, you want to keep this secret. If you say there's extraterrestrials out there and you know this because you recovered a flying disc, in Roswell and who knows how many other times, you don't want anybody to know about that. You want to reverse engineer that and come up with the technology yourself. And then this way you believe that you will take over, you would have control of the world if you wanted to. Actually, this was Stanton Friedman's number 1 reason, and I'm going to read what he said. He said, all major countries and many terrorist groups would very much like to duplicate the flight technology of the saucers. They can literally fly circles around our vehicles, move at very high speed, make right-angle turns, move straight up and down, typically with little noise, no visible engines, no exhaust. They would make wonderful weapons delivery and defensive systems. Since we have recovered wreckage at least as early as 1947, we would have set up a highly classified project, probably Majestic 12, all right, to try to both evaluate the wreckage and to obtain measurements of flight characteristics using airborne and spaceborne and Earth-based radar sets, cameras, electromagnetic sensors, and other instrumentation. Surely governments have very much more sophisticated instruments and observation platforms than do private individuals. The key rule here is that one can't tell one's friends without telling one's enemies. It appears that there have been many UFO crashes, including ones overseas. There is a long history of countries gathering and evaluating crashed vehicles of their enemies. This does not require a conspiracy. Everybody has the same self-interest concern. So yes, I do believe that that's a major reason, would be a major reason to cover this up, because you know it's basically a race to build to successfully completely reverse engineer saucer technology before your enemy does. Most certainly. Okay. And now, finally, the number one reason, and unfortunately, I've changed my mind on this one after a lot of thinking. It used to, I used to say military implications used to be number one, but I believe now it's alien intentions. Now, before I get into this, I just want to say that actually, in a way, this is less cynical. This is less cynical of the human race. Actually, I think this is actually the better. The better reason for the cover up, right? At least if this is the number one reason that's driving this, then that means all these other things, some of the bad aspects of the human race aren't the main reasons, and that makes it a little bit easier to swallow in a way when you really think about it. And one of the alien implications is, like I've talked about in recent podcasts, the theory was pushed forward that the aliens are not here for any good purpose. I mean, are they helping us? They're not helping us. We've known for sure that something's been going on for 75 years, and it doesn't seem like they're helping us in any way. I know there's a lot of people running around claiming this, right? There's a lot of UFO believers who were running around wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, saying, making claims that, they're our friends, and they know all about all this alien and this race and that race and this race. Like, how do you know this? Who told you this? Do you have proof to show us, please? I know that they're here. There's proof that there's something going on, right? But we're hearing stuff from people who are inside spaceships. They claim to be contactees, and that aliens are all good and everything, and they're here to help. But where's the help? What are they doing that's helping us? And it's tough enough trying to just to prove the minimum here, the minimal, right? It's tough enough for people who know that something's going on to prove the truth, the minimalist truth that there is. That they are here, right? It's tough enough. I mean, yeah, we have marks on the ground. We have video evidence. We have photographs, right? We have abductees. We have objects taken out of the abductees, marks on abductees' bodies. People who went missing time experiences, and people around them didn't know where they were for a couple hours. I mean, there's different kinds of proof that we have, right? We know something's going on. I mean, not everyone's lying. I know I saw one of these things, right? I know that one of these beings was in my room when I was a kid, right? I could tell you that, but that's not it's hard enough to try to get people to believe that part of it. But then you have these other people coming forward saying, oh, well, they're our friends. They're our space brothers. What are you talking about? They make it sound more like a religion than that's why a lot of people, don't want to, they don't want to talk about UFOs, because they think about those types of people making these ridiculous claims. Because I don't know what you're talking about with Space Brothers. I don't know how anybody knows what their intentions are. But then you hear what this recent, that they're here for us. They're here to colonize this planet and to use our resources, including, that's the reason why the cattle are getting mutilated. They've been getting mutilated, we know, for at least the 1960s. And, their blood is drained. There's organs missing. Are they eating that stuff? They're here on, that's their food source. Are we on the menu? Okay. I don't know. And I think, and maybe they don't know, or maybe they do know, or maybe they have suspicious people in the government I'm talking about here. Maybe they have some ideas. And that's why they have to keep it quiet. I mean, you know, the second you say, yeah, there's these beings, like some of these beings apparently are advanced insects. Okay, insects, some insects, you know, as we know, a lot of insects actually feed on vegetation, leaves, grass, whatever. And then there's some that feed on other things. They're predators. They eat meat. They eat blood. You know, they eat fish. So I mean, I guess that's a concern if you're calling, and maybe they eat us too. So I don't know. So maybe the government knows, some people in the government have an idea. They either have suspicions or they know for a fact that the alien intentions might not be good. They might not be good, and maybe this hybridization program, like has been suggested by this person who provided this theory recently, that might be because the hybridization program might be an ongoing effort to acclimate themselves better, to make them better suited for this planet, and then once they achieve that goal completely, that's when the full colonization takes place. For as insane as that sounds, who knows? Again, it's not fear mongering. It's not it's not fear porn, right? It's just something to think about. It could be. Nobody really knows the answer. I don't know the answers. I don't know how anybody out there, you know, unless you're somebody that's part of Majestic 12, has any true answers. But that is my number one. I think my number one could possibly, in my book right now, I'm going to say alien intentions. Maybe at some point I change my mind and go back to military implications. But number one right now, I think the number one reason for the cover up is the alien intentions are either known, the fact that they are known, or they suspect something, or they're completely unknown. And regardless which one it is, you know, sitting back and thinking about it, yeah, how could you tell the world about this without causing some sort of panic? And not just that. I mean, their intentions. I mean, in the past, there's been things that happened between military pilots and UFOs. Military pilots went out to chase after these things and they never returned. They crashed and all kinds of chaos happened. And actually, I'm going to read something here from Stan Freeman. He says, because I am convinced that military pilots in many countries have been disintegrated or disappeared by UFOs, I think governments would all be very resistant to telling their citizens that we tried to attack UFOs and they returned the favor, only they succeeded. The head of the American Rocket Society in 1952 took President Truman to task for the attack orders. Frank Fascino Jr. has gathered hundreds of reports of supposed airplane crashes in the USA and overseas in the early 1950s. 3 military pilots, each of whom flew over 100 missions in Korea, where they had to deal with marauding MiGs, crashed when they came back home. That seems very suspicious to me. So, I mean, it goes to show that, okay, not only if their intentions were good, why would they be destroying our aircraft? Why does that happen sometimes? You know, so it makes you wonder. I think the alien intentions is probably most certainly, and you know, as far as I'm concerned, right? That's the main reason for the cover-up. And that's why the government has been pulling our string for 75 years. The proof is right in front of your face. Just look at what the new Arrow office, the mission is to determine whether these things are a threat to national security. They've been trying to determine if these things are a threat to national security since 1947. In 1969, when they closed Project Blue Book, they stated that of all that stuff we looked into, right, regarding UFOs, they pose no threat to national security, and there's no evidence that they're extraterrestrial. And here we are, 50 years later. We're over 50 years later. They're still talking about. We're trying to still determine whether these, even though it's like the same story. It's like you got a record and you played the record, and then you turn it over, then you started it over again. And it's basically the same story you're hearing over and over. It's like a broken record, actually. It's like a broken record. Oh, there's nothing to it, nothing to worry about, right? Oh, but we're still looking into trying to figure out if they're dangerous or if they're a threat to national security. They're still trying to figure out. See, that's the game that's being played here. That's the game that's being played here.